With over 50 different perspectives and stories on gratitude, this book captures what most books don't. The secret sauce is in the number of voices and stories where you'll be sure to find a personal connection to so many as I did. A really excellent book, David Freeman. Found exclusively on Amazon.com.
Hi, I'm Chris, and this is Gratitude and Movement, Episode 2 series. I've got my co-hostess with the mostest, Laura, on the line.
Hello.
Hey, welcome. Good to see you again. So glad to be here. Thank you for coming.
Oh my God. I am so grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Right before we get started, I wanted to share a little bit of love. Naif, I actually talked to him yesterday, and we were texting earlier, and he said, make sure I say to tell Laura that I love her. So I'm just going to get that right off the bat.
I love him. I'm so grateful we had him for the first one, and so excited for this second guest that we have today.
Yes.
And looking forward for this time with her.
Yes. And would you like to just shortly say who she is and we'll bring her in?
Absolutely. Yeah. So our second guest is Carleen Schenkel. She's my good friend from Brooklyn, New York. She's an amazing human overall. She's many things. She's a singer and a songwriter. We'll be talking a little bit about that. She's also a yoga teacher and created her own yoga style called Yoga Pulse. We taught together in Brooklyn in a studio called Heal House. We still teach online now, but Heal House is not only a yoga studio, is like the name says, is a healing space and that focuses on mental health and just wellness, especially for like their community and people of color, and bringing just diversity and people together through breath and movement and healing. So yeah, I'm just excited to bring her in and chat a little bit with her about all these things.
Awesome. Well, let's welcome Carleen in. Hey, Carleen.
Hi.
Welcome to Gratitude Space.
I'm so grateful to be invited to this beautiful room of love and gratitude. Yes.
Thank you for coming. So you're in New York, right?
I am. I'm here in Brooklyn, New York. I'm in Clinton Hill as we speak.
Awesome. Well, I'm in Kentucky, and Laura's in Las Vegas. So we've got this big circle chain of gratitude cross coasts going on right now, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
So I would love for you to share how you or if Laura wants to say, I love to start by how you all met. I love hearing the stories of how people meet and then finding those little grateful connections inside of the story. So would you like to share that, Carleen? How do you remember meeting Laura the first time?
Oh my gosh, yes. And I love these stories as well. And thank you for asking. It was kind of just, it was one of those moments where you're like, oh, I really vibe with this person. I don't know what it is, but our energy sort of collided pretty quickly. And correct me too, Laura, if I'm incorrect, but I believe you came to my yoga class I was teaching. Laura was speaking of Heal House, and I was teaching a class, and Laura was right in the front, and she was just, her movement, her energy was radiating. And after class, it was just sort of instant. We just sort of it was like an instant hug, an instant connection that I cherish to this day, because it was very natural. It was very effortless. And, I think beautiful energy recognizes, beautiful energy. Real recognizes real. And I'm just grateful that we had that exchange in Heal House. I love Heal House for that reason. When you hold space for a community that is, that is looking to heal and also receive the healing, you have those beautiful connections. So that's originally how Laura and I met.
Yeah, absolutely. I found this beautiful space close to my apartment in Brooklyn, and I was immediately drawn into it. Since the beginning of Heal House, I started as a student and really quickly as a teacher. And I wanted to take other teachers' classes and get to meet the community quickly. So I went to Lean's class, and I was like, this chick is so cool. I just want to learn more from her. And we even went to other yoga classes together. And then we found out that we both love to sing and art, and she's an amazing artist. I can't wait to share some of that. And yeah, it was like an instant click. And thank you, social media, for keeping us in touch no matter where we are in the world.
Absolutely.
I love that. So, Laura, you're saying that you found Hill House because it was in your neighborhood. Did I hear that story correctly? Okay.
Yeah,
So,
it was through a friend that was already going to their classes, and she's like, "I love this place. It's like super healing." And she's a friend that I connect with a lot in terms of healing and spirituality. So I really quickly went with her, and the rest is history. Still, is one of my favorite places.
so what? You mind me asking what her name was?
Yeah, Hallie.
So Hallie. Okay, so there's the grateful connection, the human grateful connection there. Literally, Hallie brought you to Hill House, and then there's Carleen, and now here we are. But I love that, right? I was even talking to my dad this morning. I was like, you just never know. You just get out there and meet people. You just never know, and you say yes, and you just go places. Like what the magic can happen only if you get out in the world, right? These friendships only occur when we decide to leave the home. Yeah. Or what I mean? We decide, yes, we're going to go out and meet people. So I love that. So Carleen, how did you get entitled with Hill House? Laura did tell me a little bit, but I'd love you to share that story.
Yes. So I have a connection, a very special connection to Heal House. My sister actually is one of the co-founders of Heal House. And, this was sort of a beautiful development between her and her partner, Darian Hall. And I think, I was just grateful to be able to be a part of the Heal House family because like Laura was saying, we just felt like wellness was, not being extended to a lot of communities, right? And for people of color, especially, there was a real need for healing of all modalities, not just yoga. As she was saying, this is a space where you can go and receive acupuncture, you can go and receive therapy, mental therapy, you can go and receive meditation, you can go and receive astrology. So this was like a real opportunity just to connect with a community that was larger than what I had ever experienced before. So I'm just grateful that my family decided to embark on a journey that allowed me to be of healing service. I was teaching yoga beforehand, but Heal House just took it to the next level for me to be able to be of service in this way.
Yeah, I've taught in different studios, and like Heal House is really special because of the focus on mental health, like the importance of yoga as a holistic practice, not just a movement practice. And also because it is financially accessible to people. They make it, they have a funding, right? Lean, you probably know a little bit more about this, but they have funding that people can donate. And then that money is strictly used to provide mental health to people that can't afford it. So yeah, it's just in service of the community. And I really admire that. I admire Elisa, and hopefully we'll have her also in the space soon.
Yes. Just to add on to that, it is a therapy fund where the community can donate, or there may be a community that needs to receive that therapy. So it goes hand in hand, and there's this really great opportunity and exchange that can happen. And that's what's, really important, is that we're able to support each other during this time, especially where a lot of, racial injustice has been going on. Our environment is, in a critical place. Like our politics has been very tricky. So, people are experiencing different levels of whether it be anxiety or stress or trauma. And what Heal House offers is, not sort of a one Band-Aid fix all situation. It's really about how can we extend healing in diverse areas to diverse people. And I'm just, it's amazing to be in a space where, I feel comfortable and I see teachers that look like me. I think that was one of my biggest challenges, is that, a lot of times I would be in spaces where I was the only person of color. And now, it's nice to see people of all different cultures and races healing in the same space. So that's what I love most about Heal House. And that's what brought Laura and I together.
I love that. There's so much goodness there. Yeah, next time I go to New York, I'm going to have to talk to your sister and see if we can set up a gratitude pop-up there, because I know there's going to be some great people and we could capture some wonderful moments. So that is beautiful. Well, I didn't get you. We didn't allow you to actually technically introduce yourself, Carleen. So if you'd like to, we did just go right into the questions. But if you'd like to share a little bit more about your passions and love, and then we obviously, Laura had some questions, and we have a video we can share too at some point.
Thank you so much. I know. I just went right into it. Bang.
Oh no, that was me. I was.
So, hi everyone. My name is Carleen. I'm a yoga instructor here in Brooklyn, aka Lean. That's my artist name. I'm a singer-songwriter. I am pursuing music as well. And, my love, my passions really are yoga, movement, and music. For me, I like to make music for people who are in a place of wanting to hear uplifting narratives. And this single that I've just released is called Orbit. And really what it's about is, when you're working on your internal self, when you're, reflecting energy that feels good from within out, you get that energy back from others and it moves like an orbit. So that's really what my latest single is about. I just had a visual released as well along with the single. I directed it myself with a Black female artist collective called Soldega. Shout out to Soldega. And I'm so proud of it. It's such a labor of love. And, it's really about uplifting females as well. And especially women of color, and yeah, that's me. I'm teaching, I'm singing, I'm writing, and yeah, I'm just grateful to be able to do what I love currently right now.
Yeah, I love to support my friends in what they do, and share their content and share their music, and always know what they're doing. But when I saw Orbit, I wasn't seeing my friends. I was seeing performers, artists. It was so well done. It was so beautiful. I remember the first time I saw it, it was in the big I watched it in the TV downstairs, and my roommates were there, and they're like, "This is so cool." And I was like, "They're my friends from Brooklyn." So yeah, I felt really proud because they didn't know I was watching, my friends, and they were just like, "Whoa, this song is so dope. This video is so cool." So super proud and so happy that you guys are making magic happen.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I have to give one more shout out because, this single is also featuring an artist named Honey, and she's so amazing. And not only is Honey a rapper, but she's a chef and she works with Heel House. Her name is Kayla, and big love to her for being a part of this project and adding her own magic to the track. So I had to add that little tidbit.
Yeah. And Chris, just because I know you love these connections, Kayla was my roommate in Brooklyn for almost 4 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Wow. That is awesome. I love that. So
sister,
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was going to say, how did Kayla get involved with the song? What was I'm curious in the story behind that. So how'd that go?
Yeah, so Heel House, really, it all comes back to Heel House again. Heel House is this really great connection point. Kayla, or AKA Honey too, that's her artist name. She was working first as a barista in Heel House, because there's a cafe in the front where you can get medicinal teas, you can get smoothies. And that was my first introduction, right when you walk into this space, you see this beautiful spirit who's super friendly. And it was just one of those things too, where the connection was just instant. And, we took our time with our friendship, and I got to know her and I got to know her music. And I just, aside from her being an amazing friend, I just also respect her as an artist. And I knew right away that I wanted her to be on this specific track. This was about divine feminism and that energy, and she exudes that. So I wanted to make sure that I got her on this project, and I did. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for every woman that stepped in on this project and showed up with such beauty and light.
You guys want to watch it? I know you've both seen it, but you want to go ahead and watch it? Okay, cool. Yes, this is the first time me doing this window thing here. So let's see, I'm going to do that. And then everything should work the way it's supposed to work.
The audio.
Yeah, it's beautiful, but we need the audio.
So cool.
Well, it's a silent visual for now.
I think Chris is listening to it. Chris, can you hear it?
Oh,
You're not. Sorry. Okay, see, this is me not. So I didn't. Hold on.
Chris is like jamming to
It's all
it.
good.
Like,
I
oh my
was
Okay.
God.
actually enjoying this, watching it without. I could. Really,
Oh,
like,
so that's,
tap
see,
into the
hold on.
music.
I need to figure out. See, this is what I was saying. Like, I need to figure out what I'm doing wrong. So you guys couldn't hear the audio. See, I told you, like, that's interesting. Okay, let me see what I'm doing wrong here.
Take your time. Take your time.
I see. No, that's StreamYard. I don't know what. That's really weird. Okay, maybe we can't do this. I'm sorry. I should have practiced this because I can hear it and I can hear you. That's why I don't know why. I don't know why you guys can't hear it though.
Even if we just show the visual, it's beautiful to watch even like without the music. I think it's something to still see. So
okay, I think that maybe the audio is coming through to me. I just don't know why it's not coming through to you. Did you guys hear real quick here when we opened up and okay, let's just go ahead and watch it with the visual. I think the audio is going into the video though because I can hear it. So we're just go with it. Okay, all right. So I'll be the one doing my head then here. Well, let me. Okay, all right. Take 2 and let's go one more time. Here we go.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Serenity. Just gotta sing it for us.
Yes. I'm trying to see which part I'm at. Keep your distance, please. Not concerned with your cloud. All I know is to lead by example. Put the love before the door. That's what we about. All around me, they see a path they want to know. All around me, hey. I'm not gonna do the whole song, but like,
so good, so
this
good.
is the gist of it, but
yeah, it's so beautiful, and I don't know if they're gonna be hearing the music or us, but I really love the outfits, the makeup, the guest artists. I love the lights.
Thank you
Just
so much.
It's so fun to watch and so well done. The song and the lyrics are so good.
Thank you.
And then it's you and Kayla. Like, my heart is all in it. Look at that girl. You're so cool.
There's a lot of beautiful movement in this visual, and that's what I wanted to incorporate, and also just trying to capture a very celestial vibe without it being so literal, without this outer space sort of literal aesthetic. I wanted to capture just sort of, it's really what this visual is about. It's an out of body experience. So it starts out with this glow in the dark body paint art that my Soldega member, friend, AKA Virgin Artiste, we actually shot this at Heel House, and she did all of this glow in the dark designs on us. So it starts out in this sort of meditative state, and then we sort of, have this out of body experience where you see us in these different scenes, right? And so it's really about, when we're in that meditative state, when we're in that place that feels good, it's about like, where we can go, where we can travel.
Possibilities endless, right?
Yeah. It's cool. I really enjoyed making it. Honestly, it was really fun. I had such a great time, and I took my time with this one.
Yeah, I love to see all these beautiful women and see Honey just shining. Just amazing.
Then we got the 90s vibe towards the end.
There's the yoga.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of like
headstand.
Your world's coming together.
Yeah. And so basically you come, through that time travel, it comes back into that place where, we originally started.
Amazing. That's so cool to hear a little more in depth.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I was trying to I turned it down. So if both the audio's there, maybe somebody could have heard both of us. I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see.
It's all good.
So that was just released in the last week then. So that's like a new baby of yours.
Well,
The video
no,
is.
it was actually released in March, in early March.
That's
Oh,
not-
okay.
Please check it out, y'all. Just type in Lean, Leen, Orbit, and you can view the full visual with the sound, the effects, all of it. Please, please subscribe. I
Make
appreciate
sure that we share that link too.
Yay.
For sure. Yeah. That's awesome. So what's next up for you musically now that that's been released? What is your next move?
Yes, that's the thing. It's like, I was thinking of my next move even before I put this
Right.
out. That's the thing as an artist. It's like, it takes time to build up to releasing something, and already you'll be wanting to move on to the next thing. Right now, I'm doing a collaborative song with another producer, and I'm starting to work on a treatment. So usually my approach before I do a music video, and I've been very involved in my own music videos, I start with a treatment, and I start to visualize, what does this song look like to me? So my next visual is going to incorporate movement again, but this time it's going to be Qigong. And I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to give it away.
No.
Yeah.
I literally just did Qigong this morning before this interview for the first time in like a year. I did it once or twice in the beginning of quarantine, and then today. So that's crazy.
Yes.
This is the face of somebody who doesn't know what that is.
Yes. Qigong is another, healing movement. But it's, it's not like yoga, there's different, there's different parts to it. There's about 12 parts in the practice of Qigong. This is Eastern Chinese medicine. And to be honest, I can't speak too much on it because I'm not an expert, and I've been a recent practitioner. But I can definitely, Chris, pass you on to my teacher who would be able to really go in depth with Qigong. But what's really amazing about it is, it's much different from yoga. I have to use a whole different breathing system, but it's primarily in the arms, connecting the breath with arm movement. Your feet are connected to the earth. You're not really moving your body around in different ways like yoga. So it is a departure from what I am used to, but I'm so grateful that I can try a new healing method. And for me, I'm so inspired by this movement that I wanted to incorporate it. I know I want to incorporate it in my next visual.
Yeah, it looks kind of like martial artsy.
Yeah, it is.
It sounded like Tai Chi to me when you were talking about moving the hands and the breathing.
Yes,
Similar
exactly.
to Tai Chi.
Very similar.
It uses like the energy channels and breath retention and movements that are like pulling and also visualization.
Yes.
A lot of visualization, and it's very playful and joyful. It like inspires your creativity. It's cool.
Yeah, the energy points are very important, and I forgot to mention that there's different energy points where you send the arm movement towards, and you start out meditating first to try to access the microcosmic orbit, and that's just sort of an energy that moves in a very circular motion and moves throughout the entire body. And keep in mind, I know there's some people out here who are much more knowledgeable of this, so I'm just giving a very basic description of what I've learned. But it's something that, that is much more softer, I find, of a healing practice.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really learning to access more, just more softness with myself.
Absolutely. I can relate to that so much.
Yeah.
Love that. That's very cool. I'll have to, maybe now that we're connected, you can send me a video or something. I can watch somebody do it. I have a general idea of what you're saying, but I'm very curious now. So thank you for that. So Carleen, there's a couple of staple gratitude questions. Well, actually, what I like to do is go around and just, if you could just say like 3 things in the last week that you're grateful for. It could be something that happened to you. It could be a small thing. It doesn't really matter. It's just kind of like what's new and good that's on the top of your head that you're grateful for.
Absolutely. It's interesting you asked me that. That came up for me in the class that I taught right before I jumped on with you all. And, I was saying to my students, I'm so grateful for community. to be honest, the exchange between teacher, student, and just my community of artists. You know, I am part of an artist collective, so I'm so grateful for that. I don't know what I would have done, especially during COVID, without having access to healing communities. Another thing that I'm grateful for is my health. I'm really, really, really grateful for my health, and to be able to move my body, to be able to fully breathe, and experience life in this realm. Another thing I'm grateful for is a higher power, believing in something greater than myself, being able to, you know, understand my own version of higher power too, what feels right to me. And for that, I'm just super grateful for.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Laura, you're up.
Oh my God, I'm grateful for my puppy that's laying down right here.
You want to bring the pup? Oh, he's sleeping. We won't bother.
Yeah.
Or you want to turn? You want to get a puppy in here? Oh, there we go.
Yes.
He's always on my side. It's
Wow.
so cute. I am grateful also for community, for friends, and for having this call with both of you. It's always so inspiring to share stories and share time. And I am grateful that I feel stronger than ever in physically and emotionally and mentally, and to be able to see that there's so much more growth still to be had, but that I've come so far. And yeah, I feel really, really strong and really supported, and I'm really grateful for that.
That's beautiful. I'll go. I found this cup the other day, so I was like, okay, I got to get that. At least I could have another something with gratitude and the grateful in my. So I'm grateful for this cup. I recently bought a nice webcam. I spoiled myself so I could have a nice webcam. I've been doing these videos for months, and I because of circumstances, like, go ahead and get yourself something nice, Chris. So I'm grateful I could do that, and then I'm doing that. And this is the first time I'm actually recording live with it, so I'm very grateful for that. And then lastly, this last week, productions are starting to open back up. So I got to record this comedy tour. It came to the arena, which I was really grateful for. This is kind of a 2-part gratitude thing. So it was a long show where there are 2 of them in the standing and everything. Anyways, my back was really in pain the last couple of days, but it's feeling a lot better. So the structure in that is many things I'm grateful for. One is I'm really grateful that I could work and go do that, and that that they were doing this comedy tour so that I could work. But then I'm actually grateful my back was sore and hurt, because it just reminds me of how often, because I'm normally really good and I'm okay with feeling a little bit of pain because I can really appreciate how good I normally feel. So, I'm very grateful for the whole thing, for it all. So there we go.
Perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Cool. So I want to move now a little bit in the other direction, Carleen, and talk a little bit about your yoga practice, your movement practice.
Yes.
How did you start practicing yoga? Like, is there any other kind of movement that you did before? And how did you come to create Yoga Pulse?
Yes. Okay. Repeat to me the first question. I got the second and third.
Movement background.
Okay.
How did you get into yoga?
Yes.
And how did you come to create Yoga Pulse?
Okay. Movement background, how I got into yoga, and how did I create Yoga Pulse. I'm going to start with how I came into yoga first. My family, I'm very grateful. My mom was teaching yoga when I was young. She did a training in Asheville, and so I had already that early exposure. But it's kind of funny, because she was a teacher, I was just kind of like, well, I don't want to do something because she's doing it. It sort of came naturally in college. They were offering some free yoga classes, and I took the opportunity, and it was amazing. I was like, oh, I really like this. This feels right. But I didn't stay really disciplined with it at that time of my life. It was much later. It was actually right before I moved to New York. I was living in London beforehand, and much different lifestyle. I was drinking, I was smoking. I was like going through a phase of my life, where I was like really into the urban living at the time of London. And so when I moved back to North Carolina and I was preparing to move to New York, I did a 360. I was like, what do I want to do? Like, what's my intention? And when I had moved to New York, it was really hard to find a job. The recession had hit, and I was thinking, well, what else can I do? And I remembered how I loved the practice of yoga. And I made a decision right then and there. I was like, I'm going to do a training program. I'm just going to do something completely different, take a risk. And I'm so grateful I ended up in the training that I did. At the time, Yoga Sutra was the name of the studio, and it was on 42nd and Bryant Park in an old bank. It was like one of the most beautiful studios I've ever seen in my life. And what was incredible about this particular training program is it was very authentic. Not only were we practicing and learning sequencing, but we were learning the philosophy of yoga. We were taking Sanskrit classes. We were doing chanting. And you had the style of vinyasa, you had the style of Iyengar, you had the style of Ashtanga, all in the same roof. So you sort of got this introduction to a diversified look of what yoga is, because it's not just the asanas, it's not just the movement, right? So that was my sort of journey and how I came into yoga. There's more I could elaborate on, but I'm going to now move into, I believe the second question was how I came into the movement, or tell me more.
If there's any other modalities of movement that you did maybe before or during this breaks from yoga when you were like more of a rebel and were like, I don't want to do what my mom is doing. So what did you decide to do instead?
Yes. I think dance was definitely like the original form of movement that I experienced before I got into yoga. I actually did a minor in modern dance at UNC Charlotte. So that was my first introduction to dance. I mean, even younger than that, I was taking dance classes. So that was sort of my first way of connecting with my body. Then once I came into yoga and I completed my training, I started taking different styles of yoga, actually. I started hopping around at different studios, trying different styles, whether it was Ashtanga, whether it was, I did try Bikram. I'm not really a fan of Bikram. I'm going to say that out loud. But I did try it, so at least I could have an opinion about it in trying it. I tried Katona. That was a really interesting style of yoga, which was a little more, there's a lot of origami shapes in the style of Katona, very mathematical, very alignment based. Very grateful that I got that experience. Jiva Mukti, I experienced their style of yoga, which is still vinyasa based, and some other styles are incorporated in their school of yoga. So yeah, I've always been Hatha, Kundalini. I've always been open to different styles because I think there's so much to learn from other teachers and other styles of movement. And recently, I'm now taking African dance classes. That's a whole new experience. So cool. I'm moving my body in ways I have never moved my body. And I've been in a lot of pain, but but it's good. It's good pain. It's just new pain, right?
Right.
And then Qigong. So that's a lot of movement. Now I'm saying it out loud.
Yeah, you've tried a lot of different things, but that's what I'm the same way. I like trying different styles, different things, different teachers. I'm always sore because I'm trying new things. So I hear you. So then that kind of like pile of things, we're like, but yoga pulls.
Yes. So, for me, like when you're starting out, when I was starting out as a yoga instructor, it was important for me to just get the foundation. And for me, I chose to stay in the lineage of vinyasa, even though there was different styles within my training program. That's what I gravitated towards. So I at least got the foundation in place. And I kept teaching, I kept, learning how to build my practice. And once I got to a place where I felt confident in my practice, confident in my body, I was able to start playing with my own styles, right? And so having that dance background, I wanted to try to incorporate that into the practice of yoga. But I still wanted to keep it connected with the foundation of vinyasa. So pulse is really, it's you know, the word itself speaks to the movement. It is like a pulse like movement, and it is a little more rhythmic and fluid. So for example, like you're in warrior 2, you know, you're still in the position, you're still holding it, but you may take a sort of pulsing effect where you're moving the hips and the pelvis up and down. And that way it creates more of a dynamic approach to the practice where the joints can start to loosen and you don't feel like you're stagnant, which, you know, in a traditional flow, you know, sometimes you do hold the poses for a little bit, you know, longer than maybe what I normally would encourage. But I love the aspect of being able to move in a way that feels free. And this style of yoga that that feels natural to me offers that. It allows my students also to create free movement as well. I'm not a very sort of rigid teacher, like you have to do it this way and this way only. Like I always try to leave an open space for people to feel their own natural movement as well, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, pulse is a dance-like rhythmic style of vinyasa yoga that I wanted to give back to my students.
Yeah, I like that pulse. What it does is kind of like gives that vibrancy to the pose, and it gets you out of your head on like how the pose should look like, and it just gets you more into like the breathing and the movement and getting everything fluid. And that's what I really enjoyed about doing that practice with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because sometimes in yoga, we're so like worried about how it looks. You know, there's a lot of performative yoga and a lot of like, let's do this for the gram. So I think the pulsing takes out that because it's like, oh, it keeps going, it keeps moving, and it goes with like your vibration and your breath, and you can like connect with like juicy part of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you're describing that. It's an opportunity to just have fun as well. You know, it's you know, for me, it was just very natural. Like I wanted to incorporate something that everybody else could enjoy too. And, you know, the movements don't have to be exactly like me. You know, I want to make sure everybody's enjoying their opportunity to pulse in a way that feels good to them. And I always make it optional, right? It's not something that people have to do, but usually it turns out to be something that people enjoy. Or at least I hope they do.
Awesome.
That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing how you create that. That's why I loved hearing your background and all the different places you've gone and where you came from. And there was so I was curious. Just stepping back in your story, way back actually. So you were in London and you made a decision to go to New York. Was that correct?
Oh, yes.
Did I? Okay, so I feel like there's got to be some more to that story because that's a big move. I'm just curious, you know, who are the people or the players, or you know, there's got to give me a little bit more because I'm very curious. It's a big. I mean, that's a big freaking.
And what
move.
brought you to London also?
Oh yeah, we could back it up. See, I didn't know where you were before. Okay, let's just back it up. Okay, where were you before London?
Back it up. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm just curious.
I get so excited and I skip all the steps for the people.
No, it's good.
Bear with me.
It's good. So, okay, where were you before London?
Yes, let me just give my real background here. So, I am originally from North Carolina.
Okay.
And I need to say all of these things because in case some people are watching, I'm originally from Oakboro, North Carolina. That's where I was raised, which is it's an hour away from Charlotte. But I also grew up in Charlotte as well. So for my North Carolinians, I gotta acknowledge that. But I was born in Copenhagen, Denmark. My mother is Danish and my father is Black, and he's from North Carolina. So I'm kind of all over the place. Born in Copenhagen, Denmark, but moved to North Carolina when I was like 2 years old. North Carolina is my home. That's where I was raised. When I moved to London, this was like in my 20s, and I was like ready to make a big move. I wanted to try something different from North Carolina. You know, I wanted to try a different culture, a different environment. So I moved to London for about 6 months. That did not work out for me. I knew I couldn't stay in London. So when I came back to North Carolina, I was like, well, I can't just be here after I got a taste of London. I need to go to another city. Right. So New York was like the next best place that I wanted, that I thought would be the best move for me. And my sister was already there. So I already had family there. It made sense. I first moved to Harlem. And I was doing my training while I was living in Harlem. Love Harlem. Big props to Harlem. And then I quickly moved, though, to Brooklyn. So now I am a Brooklyn girl. And this is home. This is my new home. So I hope that clears things up a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's great. I have another. No, that totally cleared up. I'm curious. So how was it? How did your mom and dad meet? Because see, I'm hearing this. I'm curious about that because again, like we have these people from different worlds meeting, and then you were born in the other country. So can you give me a little bit more there? Because I'm very curious.
Yeah, absolutely. So my mom and dad met in California on Venice Beach. My mom was visiting from Denmark. And
wow.
Yeah, so they met in LA on Venice Beach. They hit it off.
So hold on. Okay, so your mom's both of them were visiting California, and they both ended up in Venice Beach. Am I following this correctly?
So actually, Chris, thank you for clarifying. My father was already living in LA.
Okay.
So my mother was visiting from Denmark, and so my dad was on the beach doing his thing, and they just happened upon each other on the beach. They were talking. They hit it off. You know, there was no dating apps then. You actually had to meet people in person, and and they hit it off. And from there, you know, it was very quick, definitely very quick. It was love at first sight. And, you know, my mom got pregnant with me like a year after meeting each other, and my dad followed her back to Denmark, and they stayed in Denmark for a little bit and then moved to North Carolina to be closer to my dad's family.
Okay, I love that so much. I have this practice, I call it gratitude cube. So basically it's where it works with people and places and things. So like when you tell this story, I just love looking back at it and just seeing the magic in it. I like to call it magic. Obviously it all works. So you can go, this makes sense, but I like to hear the magic. So the magic in that is it's like your dad's living in California and your mom takes a vacation, and then they just happen to cross each other on the beach, and then here we are, right? Like obviously there's a lot of steps between here and there, but like that's just wow. I mean, it's amazing. Wild. You know, yeah, it's like my stories, my parents, you know, is I've heard this story. My dad remembers the moment. So my dad was from Philadelphia, my mom was from Louisville, Kentucky, and they met at the college here in Kentucky. But my dad, for example, he just wasn't a very good student. And like I think it was something like, how did he even hear about this college in Louisville? You know, it's like, maybe I think it was something on a board, right? Like, and some reason he thought he could get into that college. And then he came down here, and he has a memory of standing at the top of the hill and seeing my mom walk up the hill for the first time. And I'll tell you what's so beautiful about that moment is it was my mom passed. Part of my gratitude story is my mom passed away 7 years ago to cancer. But this last year, my dad was telling me, this was in September. He goes, Chris, he goes, the anniversary of meeting your mom's coming up. You know, it's the 19th or whatever. He said, he went back into the story. He's been telling me the story, Carleen, all my life, right? And I took a pause because of the way the world is. It was like it was a perfect opportunity for me to go, well, there's no reason why we can't go visit the college. And think about it. I'm 40 at that point. I'm 41 years old. I've heard this story, all this time. I've heard it all my life, and I go, we could go and do this. We could totally take a day, and we did. We got up. I got up early. I drove to my dad's. We drove to the campus, and I have pictures, and I stood there right where he said, "Here's the spot." And we're looking down the hill, and wow. We walked around it was talking about it. It was so beautiful. We walked around the campus, and he was like. It's like he's a young man again. It was so beautiful to him, just reminiscing about being in his early 20s or late, whatever, and he said, we went to the chapel, and he's like, I remember your mom and I used to go, there's an alcove over there. We used to go and kiss, it was just like, it was so beautiful. And I just think about, this reminds me of those moments, right? It's the same thing with your dad being on the beach there and your mom walking by, it's that moment where if that moment doesn't occur, and just to go a step further, we end up going to like the football field. And he told me the story I'd never heard. So it's like when you hear stories from your parents you never heard, you're like, whoa, it's like, I haven't heard, it's like, this is a new one, right? But it was because we were there. He goes, I remember your mom and I drove to Western Kentucky University one morning to check out the school, and the register was closed. And I looked at him, I said, I'm so glad that the register was closed, because you understand, I was like, you understand, like, if you guys would have went to Western, there's a good chance I wouldn't have been born. I mean, your whole life, and like
Whoa.
those little, you know what I mean? Like those little, you know what I mean? Like you just think about a change of like, we just changed scenery and campuses. This is before they were married, obviously. Like everything's freaking different. Like, it's just like, but he told me a little story, and I was like, I'm so glad that didn't happen. And then, like I said, like, I'm so glad, when I think about them being there and seeing, like, hearing the story. But that's why I love backing the stories up to those moments where you just see this impossibility, this moment occur, and it's magic.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like the smallest thing, the smallest moment in time can make a difference in, in what comes out of it, whether it be children or an experience. And I'm really glad you asked me. I think it's nice to kind of know that we all have a background, we all have a story, and we all come from something, right? Like we all come from a lineage, right? And even though my parents are not together, I'm so grateful to them. They're artists themselves, and I'm grateful that, to be here, and that they had that moment in time so that I can be here.
Oh, exactly. I feel like Laura and I, we did the birthday one. We got right into that. I feel like we did. We just talked. Maybe I don't know. It's just, yeah, I love looking back, and it's just like learning about how you and Laura met. It's like, it's where, for example, you're here, but it's like, we're here because of all these memories and moments and people. And it's like, when we start it's so easy to feel the emotion of gratitude when you start naming the people and the moments, right?
Absolutely.
So it's like, when I go, you guys are friends, how'd you guys meet? Like, Laura and I met specifically because of Naif. It's like in the first podcast we went in, I actually went back to go, how did I meet Naif, right? Like it was such a random thing, right? And I'll be real quick. I'd like to, or do you want, I could go down the rabbit hole real quick, or not, or I don't know.
No, what I like about it is, like, short answer is I met Lean through Heal House.
Right. And that's true.
Going more in depth to it is like, it brought us to Hallie, who's like a dear friend and a wonderful person. And so it's like, oh, you put the gratitude not only in a general space, but in a specific person that actually brought you to the space. And then we can even go farther back into like, how did I meet Hallie? And yeah, it's definitely a rabbit hole, but it's so nice to just zoom in and like see the specifics of like how these things happen and the magic, because it's so magical that like you're visiting, from Denmark, you're visiting the United States, and then you meet a person, and then that changes your life completely. And then there's this wonderful creature comes out of that meetup. Like, that's just magical.
It is. And so I love it's, with gratitude, it's people and like thinking of these moments, it's like there's so many grateful moments that obviously we've arrived, like we go, okay, I'm in Brooklyn right now, right? Like, that's great. And you could say, I took a plane to Brooklyn, right? Or I took a plane to New York. I live in Brooklyn. But when you start to break down what led you there, who led you there, what got you here to here, like there's so much, it's those memories and moments, and that's what sparks the happiness in the head of these moments. And I love hearing them all the time, because I feel like the more we ask the question, the more we see these impossibilities, these things that are happening that are I just like to call it magic.
Absolutely. I feel like we're connected by a thread. And it actually reminds me of a quote. Give me 1 second, y'all. I have to read you this quote.
Okay.
And I recently got introduced to this quote, and I have to
Please
share with us.
Read it. Yes. It's by an African filmmaker named Samba Gajigo. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Life is a long thread. We each come along, tie our knots in it, and then pass it along to someone else. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just, we all we all can be interconnected, you know, and in one way or another, and we all put our little something into that thread. And, you know, I think that's really beautiful, that visualization and that interconnectedness. I'm like very grateful that I got the opportunity to connect with Laura, especially before she left. You know, like, I'm grateful to Hallie for bringing Laura to that class. I'm grateful, Laura, that you introduced me to Chris, and that I'm able to be on this platform speaking with you all. Like, that's so beautiful. And yeah, I cherish this moment.
Me too. I just wanted to real briefly say with Laura, you know, it's like I took a thing called the Punching Depression Tour, and I went out west and went down to all these cities and asking people what they're grateful for. And because I connected with somebody before the trip on Instagram, I am stopping in Laguna, just at like a coffee shop, to meet this guy named Mark to do a video. And he brings his friend Jayfro with him. Jayfro then is like, you need to meet my friend Jessica. So when I was in LA, I met Jessica, and then Jessica told me, okay, you need to meet my friend Kat. So then I meet Kat on the phone, and then Kat, when I start talking about doing Gratitude New York, she's like, I've got a friend named Naya. She gives me she put together a list of people. She's like, I've got this list of great contacts. Go at it. I don't know if she initially said Naya or not, but he was on that list. And I met Naya, and then because I talked with Naya, the day came we met, he invited Laura. You know, it's like these little, literally like, and then, you know, but then on top of that, if Laura hadn't told me that she loved singing, you know, we wouldn't have met after that again. That probably would have been it, because she mentioned I was putting in a concert together, and she said she was a singer, and I was like, well, I would love to hear you sing. So then I met her at her place and got to hear her beautiful voice. And then next thing you know, she was part of the show a couple of days later. But it was all those little, just random little connections.
It's those little things that can change your life, like, or the curse. Because Naif, it was like he was with you already, and he's like, come to the park, we're doing this really cool like gratitude, like sharing gratitude with random people in the park. And I'm like all in for that kind of stuff. I was like, okay, I'm coming. And then I just jumped in the train and went. And then and then Chris and I have just kept this connection and have supported each other so much. So
I didn't know that little tidbit that he'd called you from the park. Wow. Talk about, so you were available and game. There we go. There's another little like amazing little moment right in there. Okay. It wasn't even planned. You were just happened to be free, and you're like, okay. Oh, that was so she showed up. We had dry erase boards, and we were having people write what they were grateful for, and then taking the pictures with them. That was the kind of the gratitude challenge in the park.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
It's simple.
It's crazy. Like, just this little like change in decision or a change in moment can just have a different outcome.
That's why you gotta say yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's
absolutely the power of yes.
So thank you for saying yes, Carleen, to come and to share this time with us.
Thank you.
I would never say no to you, Laura. Never. It would be hard to say no to you. I just have to say, Laura, like, what I appreciate so much about you is your vulnerability. Like, you were open with me from day one. Like, you're a true beacon of light, truly. And I'm so, so proud of you. And I'm looking forward to hearing more of your voice. I'm looking forward to seeing you continue to strive and thrive. And I'm so grateful that we had that connection, and that we can continue to have the connection. And thank you, Chris, for inviting me, and both of you having me on to share my experience. And thank you for taking an interest in me.
Oh, you're welcome. That was beautiful.
Thank you for listening to my vulnerability, and for seeing me for who I am, and for being an amazing teacher and amazing friend that I know it's there. And I just can only return that at the same way. And thank you, Chris, for creating this space, for all this love and gratitude. I feel like I'm in a bubble of love right now.
Absolutely.
It's a love bubble. Well, if you guys weren't here, it would just be me in the bubble. So Carleen, thanks for coming and sharing your passion, your love, and your practices, and those little stories in there. And I really enjoyed it. And Laura, for thinking of you and just making this happen. And we're going to do a lot more of this. So, and hopefully we'll be able to get your sister so we can hear we can ask some Carleen stories of your sister too. And I definitely, you're the community that's there in New York. I would definitely love to talk to more of the people that are a part of it. Cause I feel like, and I know Laura, Laura knows a lot, but the house, I think that would be just endless opportunities to have great conversations that flow back to that community. So
absolutely,
just putting that out there.
Big love and shout out to Heal House.
Hill House, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Carleen, as far as sharing stuff for you, is the best. Where would you like me to put in the show notes and where people can find you?
Yes.
Sorry,
so again, my name is Lean. That's my artist name. If you want to follow me and my music, you can follow me at official.lean and on Instagram. Also, you can type in official.lean on Facebook. I have my artist page there as well. If you want to follow me and you're interested in yoga, I've been a teacher for 11 years now, and I am teaching through Heal House. I also have personal Zoom classes. You can follow me on my IG at Align, ALIGN, with Lean, LEEN, and on IG. And I'm also just on Facebook as Carleen Schenkel. And yeah, I hope that's not confusing. But please follow me, ask me questions. I'm grateful and to be able to do music and teach yoga and give that back to others. So yes, follow me.
That was beautiful. Laura, do you have any closing thoughts? I know we feel like we just laying it all the love, so I don't know if we can go anywhere else from there.
I'm so full. Just thank you again, and follow my girl at Align with Lean for yoga and official.lean for her music stuff. Just click on those accounts. You won't regret it.
Yes, Laura, I freaking love you, girl. I do. Thank you so much again. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, I'm Chris with Laura and Carleen, and that was Gratitude and Movement, and we are out.